Hello, I am Graham Sandersfeld, the outreach specialist for a new Catalyst grant in Extension titled Growing Urban Agriculture in Iowa, a new ISUEO cross-disciplinary project. This presentation will include an introduction to the project with a video interview of a participating urban farmer. According to the USDA, urban agriculture includes the cultivation, processing, and distribution of agricultural products in urban and suburban areas. Community gardens, rooftop farms, hydroponic, aeroponic, and aquaponic facilities, and vertical production are all examples of urban agriculture. This project links IFCU extension specialists in various departments, including horticulture, PPEM, food science, human science, and 4-H, with county extension staff, master gardeners, government agencies, and nonprofits. We will work with these partners to advance urban ag towards the following goals. A vibrant urban ag community across Iowa that demonstrates increased understanding, knowledge, and skills leading to production and post-harvest practices with a reduced environmental impact. This goal also includes making new urban youth connections and educating opportunities featuring urban gardens. We are also striving towards an increase in healthy, safe food access as a result of ISUEO trainings for urban farmers, and an increase in financial competency and income for participating farmers. Our approach to meeting these goals is to create a new instructional series, new 4-H activities at urban farms, and by hosting field days at urban farms and gardens, which will showcase urban agriculture practices and demonstrations. The instructional modules will consist of publications, webinars, videos, and pamphlets covering critical topics and translations for Spanish, Burmese, and Congolese audiences, the most prominent groups of immigrant farmers in Iowa. A directory of urban agriculture expertise has already been compiled to help interested parties connect with the help they need to answer urban agriculture questions. Field days will be hosted at our collaborator urban farms in the summer of 2025, and they will consist of an on-farm demonstration showcasing innovative urban ag practices, a tour of the urban farm or garden, and youth activities to be arranged with the volunteer instructors in the area. This project has secured 46 cooperators from IFCU Extension County and state staff, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations to join forces in supporting urban farmers. 5 urban farmers have signed on, including Feed Iowa First, Southern Goods, Highland Park Community Garden, Cincinnati Mound Collaborative Farm, and Sweet Tooth Farm. Regional and county extension directors Sandy Helgerson, Haley Sandberg, Hugh Richardson, and Paul Gibbons are all participating in this project by fostering local interest, creating urban ag positions, and hiring interns. The regional extension offices are also helping us mobilize Master Gardener volunteers and reach 4-H students. I am here with Monica Obcharsky, owner and operator of Sweet Tooth Farm here in Des Moines. Monica, how did you get started with farming here?
Yeah, I mean, the simplest thing is, we actually moved into this house and we're standing in one of my first gardens. And when we moved in, there was a little park here. Before 1971, there had been a house. And in terms of public dollars and allocation to keeping up parks, when we moved in, there was a broken swing set and a sand pit. And the city said the best they could do to put in a better playground was about 13 years. And so for us, that just wasn't good enough. So then that started about a 3-year process trying to get the Parks Department and the city to do anything with this space. Ultimately, ended up with the city and the Parks Department allowing us to lease the space as a side yard, and Sweet Tooth Farm was born.
What are, in your opinion, some of the top benefits and challenges of urban gardening?
Ooh, how much time do you have? I mean, I say the biggest benefit is being connected to green productive spaces in an urban setting. Many times development and building is, we're just highly valued by cities and by neighborhoods. But when individuals and neighborhoods make investments in places like urban farms, it really just kind of uplifts the whole community. I will say too, selfishly, it's just wonderful to be 5 minutes away from the sculpture park and also have a high tunnel full of kale. um, I would say challenges. Ooh, that is probably a harder question to answer. If I had to give like a top three, I would say first and foremost land access, which I mean everybody knows this. It's not saying anything new, but particularly to urban ag, these spaces don't cash flow the same, right?
Mhm.
So like it, let's say that I'm growing greens, even high dollar crop. If I buy a space that's a quarter of an acre for $80,000, like that math doesn't work, right? Whereas rural prices are much different. So that is a big challenge for us. We just cannot, even if we have funding or if we have loans, they get to be so insurmountable that it's a huge, huge barrier. And I also think zoning and permitting can be a huge hindrance to people. I think in a lot of places, for permits you have to apply for, there's no guarantee you get them. I have a friend who applied for a permit, had to pay almost $1,000, got turned down. So I think it's a fraught thing. One of the hardest parts of urban farming is not the farming, it's the people.
All right. Well, on that note, can you think of any ways that people can get financial assistance or technical assistance with starting an urban farm?
I mean, if you're not a nonprofit, to be so honest, there really is not a lot of grant opportunities for urban farms. A lot of those things in terms of community gardening, urban farming require you to be a nonprofit. And so if you are an LLC, if you are a business, I think a really great opportunity is just making connections with people in your neighborhood, in your city. That can parlay into marketing opportunities, into selling opportunities. I know I've done boxes with local makers who bake bread, who make honey, or who, produce honey, to come together collectively to make our selling power stronger. I think that's honestly the way ahead for urban farmers, is to come together so that we can have more scale and variety together, selling as a collective versus just being on an island alone.
All right, that's very useful. Um, can you tell us a little bit about what you grew this past growing season and what urban agriculture practices you use?
Yeah. Um, we had a really great kale season. Honestly, brassicas did really well for us this year. We had a really good pepper season as well. The peppers really liked that long, hot summer. So I tried to then put a lot back in it in terms of amending and composting and just returning nutrients to it. And so some things that I've been doing and will continue to do is like strategic cover crop planting in blocks. We have a Tetris like kind of amalgamation of where everything's going. And so I think urban ag, that's really a requirement to just have a tight schedule of where things are going when you're flipping beds, and then what is putting back in after you harvest a crop.
Right, very good to be integrated with your practices.
100%. Yeah.
And then finally, Sweet Tooth Farm has a community fridge that it donates to. Can you tell us a little bit about this effort?
Yeah. Really started up in those first like chaos weeks of 2020, before schools really had their lunch programs up, before many places had anything set up. Um, Neighborhoods were hit hard and ours was no different. And so my neighbors and I got together to cook and serve 100 meals a night for almost 2 months when the nonprofits in our neighborhood shut down. And so my friends and I were just thinking, my God, like just direct produce and foods would be so much easier than packaging and keeping temperature and all of these other things. As a farm, it became a really positive end distribution point. If I had excess, if I wasn't selling something, if I had to harvest or terminate in terms of like, I don't have a market for 2 weeks, but I got to get this today. Where's it going? I'm not desperately trying to find a buyer or a restaurant. I'm able to bring that to a refrigerator that then goes directly to hungry people. And further, because I have shorn up my connection and just like integration in my own community, there are many people who are willing, if I say, hey, I have 50, bins of spinach after this event, I got to move them. Who wants to sponsor some? People are willing to pay for local foods to go to people in need. So for us, it's a win-win. We don't have access to large scale refrigeration. And so that bottleneck then is eased a little. because we have this instant access point. We are very sad that the LFPA program is going away. That was really helpful to us just in getting high quantity produce to food pantries and community fridges, but I'm confident that we'll find ways to continue that model.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing. This has been Monica Ovcharski at Sweet Tooth Farm.